Everyone, Arthur Fantastic here. Welcome to First Day Biblical Discussion, episode 8. Yeah. All right. Ooh, 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 ooh. Did you get that reference, Taylor? Did you get the yeah, all right reference?
Yes, I did.
Um, is that why the side eye? Um, Welcome to this week's episode of the live stream, where this week's topics. I've got something in my eye all of a sudden. Not the best time to get something in my eye. This week's topics are modern women do not know how to be wives. And then we will follow that up with a short topical discussion of the new covenant, which obviously is in the New Testament, but is also a quote and built on the Old Testament. And here on my channel, we talk and have a focus toward the Torah, that is God's law, or the law as it is referenced many times in the Bible. Sometimes the law and the prophets, which is includes the extended writings after the first five books of the Bible. How are we doing on sound? Okay, got the thumbs up from my baby. Do real quick plugs. Arthur Fantastic. If you want to follow, I'm Arthur Fantastic. If you want to follow me on any social media, it's going to be Arthur Fantastic. If you want to follow me on Instagram, that's IG. It's Arthur Fantastic 1K instead of IC. Holla, I'm into the got my tags in the description. Also behind the camera, as always, is my beloved wife, at Caramel the Sauce, aka real life name Taylor. Always here supporting me behind the scenes, doing what I need to get this bad boy rolling. So if you're watching, go ahead and give a like, comment, and subscribe, as they say. Just at least a like. I mean, you're here, just give it a like. What are we doing? Yeah, let's get into it. Any other plugs I gotta make?
Nope,
Uh,
all good.
all right. I will last plug, other than the hair in my eye. Um, my second channel for MMA, karate combat, grappling, uh, um, catch wrestling. It's going to be on that channel. Link in the description. It's going to be Arthur Fantastic here, actually. YouTube.com/Arthur Fantastic with the 1K instead of the IC. And also, we have a Ko-Fi now in the description, so if you just want to support very small amounts, totally fine. Ko-Fi is basically buy me a coffee. Thinking about getting buy me a coffee. I don't know if Ko-Fi is as cool anymore now. It seems like everybody's got buy me a coffee, so we'll see what's going on with that. And finally, we are building a community here online, which is eventually trying to start our own physical communities, as well as help others start their own physical communities. So if you want to support us in a regular basis, be a part of that discussion, which is going to be in a more private and controlled environment than it would be here in YouTube land or what have you. And that's on our Subscribe Star, which is in the link below. Christ's Shaolin, which is a reference to our project to create a Christian Shaolin temple almost. But I mean, I don't want to use the word Shaolin temple, but that's just a working title. And anyway, we're going to get into our topics of the day, um, which first off is that modern women do not know how to be wives. Now, I know we've talked about this on our channel before, or, you know, not necessarily this particular topic in its entirety, and this won't be in its entirety either. This is more of a stream of consciousness, a live stream of consciousness, um, where we're going to discuss why it's like that, what are the symptoms, how can we, and what we can do, uh, at least as men, to pick the right women. Because we can't force women to be the right woman or do the things that we need to do. This is all voluntary. And so it's based on um, knowing first off what the expectations and standards are, making sure they have the will to do these things, and then being ever watchful to make sure that they are. But that we'll get to in a moment. First, um, what's a good place to start, Taylor?
I think a good place to start would be your experiences so far with the new women you've been pursuing, and
Okay. I would say this first. I thought you would say at the beginning.
at the beginning.
Okay, thank you. All right. Where to begin? I think the beginning would be, I'm a polygamist. Me and my wife practice polygamy,
Yeah.
and we, in addition to being married to one another, we're looking for a sister wife. So we have been actively searching for other women and courting women. Obviously, we're not going to uh be like the modern social norm of dating. We are actually pursuing a higher standard of courting. We focus on marriage and getting to know one another and making sure that everything is understood, so that when you volunteer for something like that, um, it's you can't say I was fooled or anything like that. I feel like a lot of people act like they're fooled, despite most people going to pre-marriage counseling, if they're going in the church at least, being counseled by their family if they have family, and their friends, and if they're just for somehow they have no friends and they're getting married to someone. Okay, you take the vows and you know the vows, and I don't know how you could get it so confused when it says for rich or poor, for sickness and health, for good or for bad, till death do you part. Okay, to have and to hold. These all things have meaning. Okay, not to have their shit. Okay, and hold their purse. Okay, it's to explicitly be satisfying each other in sexual needs, to avoid sexual immorality, according to Paul in 1 Corinthians 7. We should do our marital duty, or our conjugal rights, or our sexual duty in marriage, is what it says there in the text, depending on what your translation is. So despite these vows being based on the concepts inside of the Bible, I'm not necessarily seeing the need for a person to take these vows, because these are all should be assumed when taking on the mantle of marriage, which is a specific institution. When you start saying, "Oh, it's going to be this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to change our vows," and I start to wonder whether or not people understand the full need and uh, scope of what marriage is. It's more than just like a modern concept. All right, this is something that society is literally based on and has been upholding civilization, is the marriage, which then creates a safe space. Okay, millennials and fucking Gen Zers, Zoomers, or whatever the fuck, a safe space to have a nuclear fucking family. Now, as we see the disintegration of the marriage, we see the falling of the nuclear family apart. And what happens is, for whatever reason, once again, we've discussed on this channel the feminist agenda to destroy the nuclear family and its family court favors the mother, okay, and gives the rights to the mother, despite in every time, in every society before 1950, or 1945, roughly around that time, the custody went to the father. If you want to leave, woman, you leave. And if a man left, it was looked as really fucking dishonorable. Okay. All right. And people would be like, what is this woman doing to drive him away? And why is he running away from his responsibilities and his duty, especially if he has kids? That it's still seen by most men as absolutely despicable to abandon your children. And it's those women that are abandoned that should be covered the most. The women that really deserve, like widows and women who have been abandoned. But do we have to look at, do women know how to be a wife? Like, these men are leaving, okay, and they're leaving supposedly in large numbers today. It's not that, okay. What actually is happening is there is an incentive to divorce your husband. You are paid to leave your husband. You're provided every safety net and every fucking excuse to do it. And all the things that were in place to ensure marriage, which included interdependence, okay, has been absolutely wiped off the table. And now we have a new system where, despite it being a voluntary situation where someone volunteers to be in a marriage, just like someone volunteers, it's voluntarily, unless you're in some specific countries, which we won't get into on this censor ridden platform at the moment, all belief system is voluntary. So being a Christian is voluntary. So if you're a Christian, which is voluntary, then that comes with being held accountable for being a Christian by other people. Okay? And people calling you out when you don't or are not doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing. But the moment that happens in this new world of no accountability for women, because we've already took accountability for women to stay in a marriage, we actually incentivize them to leave. We've also taken the accountability in every other situation where, if a woman gets pregnant, the man's on the hook for it. Well, why? But she can opt out and abort the baby, or if I may be more clear, murder the baby. Okay, but the man can't opt out financially as the father. That's because we don't have a fair system. We're not looking for equality. We're looking to empower women over men, and that is what already has happened. Okay, where men are not getting married anymore, and women are the majority of people who are breaking up marriage. 80% of marriages are being left by women. And these 80% of marriages isn't because these men are fucking high rolling players that are sleeping with a whole bunch of women. Okay, they're not leaving for that. They're leaving because they fell out of love. It's because they didn't feel pampered, didn't feel satisfied emotionally. What are the other ones that we've been watching lately that you've been like, did you hear this one?
Um, he um he wasn't supporting me financially, and he's a millionaire and buying her mansions.
Oh, but she just wasn't. No. Or what about the guy that was going through cancer, and he changed emotionally and financially because he was going through cancer,
Mm.
and she had divorced him.
Mm.
We just keep going through that. How about the video of the woman who's saying, "Oh, how hard it is to be a single mom. She doesn't have custody at all, and she's faked fucking having cancer. She's faked all abuse and all these other things, and the man has to fucking go through all this shit."
Mm.
One of the few times the man gets the custody, and the exception proves the rule. She has to be, this, absolutely provable, all over social media, done this to multiple men, fucking stole millions of dollars from multiple men. That's also another thing that she did. Um, that then that guy was able to have full custody of the children and still has to share custody on holidays and weekends. You know, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Um, but now, instead of women trusting men and men trusting women, and there being a maybe a community of families that help um, mediate any type of issue, it's the government who's completely callous. And for every 3 cents, the government's taking two, and they're taking money out of the man through the court fees. And they're taking money out of this, and guess who's going to have to pay? Men have to go through lengthy $50,000 court that over maybe even years just to get custody with their so-called wife, and they are tossed aside by society. They're just, here's the bill. You didn't get custody. You spent all this money. Good luck to you. Most all these men committing suicide. Oh, we don't give a fuck about it. It's all just bullshit, and that's because there is no reason to do anything for men in the current society. It's all focused for women. Men are replaceable, they are disposable, and when you look at men and society makes it seem as though that they are, you know what I mean? They don't need a man. This is just, it's not even a luxury. It's actually slavery. It's actually an extra fucking problem. Then why would you even want to learn how to be a wife for a man? Okay, it's because women think that they're the prize. The type of men that women want, he's the prize. The men that women settle for, they are still the prize because there's still somebody willing to pick them. And they're like, no, I'm the prize. All these men want to have sex with me. That's being attractive. That's being a woman. That doesn't mean that you are going to be picked for marriage. And people get these big heads and they don't have to learn how to be a wife. Wife is the last thing that's on their mind until they're 30 and that they're getting old and they're realizing that doing it by themselves is going to be hard, especially as a single mother. And what does anyone anywhere do anything? But let's really focus on what the church does, because that's the most important thing. The church, the ecclesia, the body of Christ, these different denominations of Christianity. There used to be a system of shame and honor. As I said before, it's a voluntary system, so you volunteer for this, that would keep marriages in place, that would hold men accountable, but it would also hold women accountable. And today we have the effeminate church, the feminized church, where because the majority of churchgoers are women, and men have been statistically and continue to be the largest group leaving the church, no longer attending, being quote unquote active churchgoers, the whole situation of what is preached has been become effeminate. Okay, not that that's not even counting the adversary and his schemes to make it effeminate and not masculine, despite it being from a masculine God that is a male who describes himself as a father and has rules for us to follow and ask us to obey him like his children. Okay, he has a kingdom as a king with a royal decree that is his law, the Torah, his constitution, which is the expectation of what he sees in a citizen, which we'll get to in a minute when we get to the new covenant. I will put my law in their hearts and in their minds, and they will be my people. So his people have his law in their hearts and in their minds. Keep that in mind. So if the children of Yah have these things in their mind, and among those commandments, among that law is a specific hierarchy and way, the way to go about things that Jesus perfectly lived out, and it has specific statutes for wives and specific authority given to the husband, then there isn't a lot to be confused about other than the jumbledness of uh, modern so-called Christianity, mainstream Christianity, the effeminate nature of what is being taught, the space and divide that has been put between the people and the word, and the lies that have been superimposed on top of the word, where you can no longer even read it correctly because you have a presupposition, you have presupposed a lie that you've been taught. And today there have been lie after lie after lie that's been taught by every institution that has ever been attended by any child growing up and any adult now, where we see this old traditional, or even more apt, biblical way of conducting a marriage with order, and this is seen as antiquated. This is seen as misogynist. This is seen as chauvinist. This is seen as regressive. These things are just ad hominem attacks, honestly, to not a homonym, but an idea. It's just attacking it. Oh, it's a misogynist. Why? Under this patriarchal, which we don't live under. We don't live under a patriarchy. We live under a oligarchy. We live under a tyranny. We do not live under a patriarchy. But under the patriarchy, for the first how many thousands of years, we went from 2 people to 9 billion people, to from rocks and stones to having um, skyscrapers, planes, and lasers. Okay, under the patriarchy, rape is illegal. Under the patriarchy, there has been the lowest amount of poverty throughout the entirety of history. Under patriarchy, families are provided for. A wife is given a husband. Every person has a place in a society as a family, and there is order. The chaos that ensues comes from the hate, malice, greed, lust, and other fleshly issues of man, not the patriarchy. The patriarchy is about keeping a family and making sure that it's provided for and protected, where each piece is just as important as the other. But that doesn't mean that there isn't one piece that leads the rest of the other pieces. Moses is not important, more important than the rest of Israel, but he is given a place of authority, and he gets favor from God because he follows his way, not because God just chose. Oh, I pick you, Moses, because he favored Moses because Moses listened. Hey guys, just give it a like, comment if you guys are here, subscribe if you guys are liking this information. If you guys have got any questions, drop it in the comments below. So the same way that God, here's another allegory, gives his wedding contract to his bride, the body of Christ. It's what he expects his bride to do. Do we even ask what men expect in their marriage, and do we care if those things are satisfied by them? If we can care about what men care about and we can care about what women care about, then why are men not getting married? Why are men killing themselves more than ever? It is overtaking it has overtaken car accidents, overdoses, and suicides. And the majority of both of those things are men, overwhelmingly. And why is that? Because there's so much going well for them to live for, in a family and a wife and in a world that appreciates them? Or do they feel, as I said, disposable, replaceable, and insignificant? A fucking burden to people. What wives are supposed to do, okay, what wives are meant to do, are being the helpmate of a husband, according to Genesis. That is part of Torah. This is the role given to woman, to be a partner to man. God says it is good, not good for men to be alone. I'll make him a helpmate. Makes woman. Okay, so man, it's not even good for him to be alone. He can be. He was doing his job, but it's not good for him to be alone. Let me give him a helpmate. That is what women are made for. And by the time that women get hit 30, they're always longing for a mate, and usually it is already too fucking late for them. They've given their life to the streets, they've given their life to the world, they've given their life to school, they've given their 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 first times, of the many first times that you can have, like going and traveling and spending it and getting a hotel room and going on vacation with someone and renting a car and flying across the world with someone, and first kiss and first time in the bedroom and first time doing this and that and this. They gave it all away to a whole bunch of men before him. But now, oh, you know what? Now I need to settle down. Why is the value of a man only thought after everyone else is, and it's gone beyond the, you know, okay, I'm the self-sacrificing husband. It's gone to a societal level where they're like, what do men want? Who fucking cares? Who cares that they're killing themselves at this crazy level? And um, there's no one, like 1 in 3 men have never had sex or haven't had sex in the past year. Who cares? I mean, who cares that all there's men that are withdrawing from society, just living at home watching uh, corn and trading bitcoins all day. From what I understand, that this is a large, growing number of people. That's crazy. That's not going to uphold society. That's not going to continue it on in any positive or sustainable way. So the breakdown of society is starting here first at the marriage. And this is one of the reasons why I talk about it so often on this channel. It's um, the core of every child's life. It should be, but a lot of children are now being born to single parents. They don't have, scrunching my face. They don't have their parents there at home. They don't have that growing up. They have um, chaos. We look at the numbers when it comes to children and having single mothers. They're more likely to commit violent crimes, more likely to drop out of school, more likely to get addicted to a hard drug, more likely to be, as a male, a rapist, a violent rapist, more likely to be illiterate, more likely to have mental instability, more likely to be homeless. And it goes on. And it goes on. More likely to be sexually assaulted. It's just such a devastatingly bad fucking way to start off your life. If you were playing an MMORPG and you wanted your character to you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, you wouldn't want your character to start off that way. And if you were a person who fucking cared about the child that may be coming from your loins, whether you're a woman or a man, like if you cared about them, then you wouldn't want them to start out like that either. But the thing is, people aren't looking to smooth over the crumples and make a crumpled up dollar bill crispy, or as crisp as it can be. They're looking to just throw that dollar bill out, not even get change for it, not even try to exchange it at the bank. They're just like, fuck this dollar bill, I don't need it. It obviously has value. And they're like, but maybe I can get a $20 bill. There's no dollar bills around. You don't have a job. There's no way you're going to get a $20 bill. But you threw away the dollar bill for that $20 bill that you might get. That's what it seems like most men are getting. And I'm just it's relative. I'm not saying men are worth like $1. It's just a comparison. Okay, average person has a dollar. You know what I mean? It's not like everybody has $100 bill in their pocket. What do you think so far on what I'm saying?
I think you're going on the right track of what you're saying. I did like that last analogy. It's really nice.
Okay, thank you. You wanna and then okay, so that all being said, here are some things that I've been noticing um, from women that not only online and watching on interviews, but also from a personal experience. And that's why Taylor wanted me to start talking about the women that I've been talking about. But it's not the only thing that I'll be appealing to. There is just this overall, like literal ignorance of what men want, and there is literally very few women that are out there. Okay, I said literally again. Sorry about that. Literally, like literally. Um, they're not. It's very rare that the women that are out there are looking to be like, okay, what does this man want? What do I need to do to get on his program? What's in this man's life that he's interested in? Let me be interested in that. Let me listen to what he says. Um, and let me add to his life. What can I do to add to his life? See, that's what a man's doing when he's going to when he's choosing a woman and he's taking her into his life and I picked you. He is saying, I am going to add to your life. I'm going to take care of you. Now the woman needs to be doing the same thing. Otherwise, you're just bringing yourself as a burden. You're just another mouth to feed. You're another fucking person that he's got to fight with. You want to be on his team. But women nowadays come with their own expectations. So in Christianity, it's the man that's the head. We know this. It says, submit to your husband in everything, even if he's a non believer, because by your actions, you may convert him to the truth. So when we have a problem like, I don't feel pampered enough, or I feel jealous, or whatever, as opposed to communicating that to them and having coming up with your own reasons to be in this relationship. Now you want him to give you reasons to be in this relationship because of some feeling that you had. Okay, that's one example. Another example is, well, he just doesn't. He's just not interesting to me. He's not interesting because he's at work all the time and working to provide for both of you. Yeah, it's just boring to me. These are the things that women will be saying to allow themselves to get out of a relationship and therefore uh, excuse themselves from doing what's right in the eyes of God and by their vows and by what is right in marriage. They have very pedantic, shallow reasons to even come to any type of logical conclusion that that is like a reasonable choice. Oh, I'm gonna leave my man. Um, and then we can go down to even more basic things like men want sex in their marriage, and some women are like, "Well, I only want to have sex this many times." Like, what the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean? Or I only want to have sex this way. I only want to do doggy. I mean, or I rather only want to do missionary, or and sometimes oral, but not anything excessive. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Is that what you want to hear from a man, that he won't do whatever the fuck you want to do in the bedroom? You know what I'm saying? But women will come with these crazy fucking boundaries. Who the fuck are you? what what the man wants is what the man wants. What you want is what you want. You can ask for what you want. You can't tell the man what he doesn't want and then say you can't have it. You are theirs. They are yours. It's how that works. Um, Even more simple. Men have interests. Hey, visual testimony. How are you doing today? Many have men have interests, and it's simple for a person who just cares about their spouse, that is the woman caring about the husband, to take interest in the interest of the man. But it's almost as if we've been kept infantilized our entire, oh, that's boy stuff. That's for boys. I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how it is. You know what I mean? Like, this is the men, okay, classically lived hardy lives, right? Um, Usually trying to grow some of their own food, right? Building their own houses, moving out west, getting a piece of land from a lord, and being a part of a serfdom. Okay, this idea of dainty doll-like women is not what men want. You know what I mean? Like little China dolls that they can't touch and can't help them. They have to put them on a little pedestal at home and then do every fucking thing. That isn't. Hey, visual. Right now, we're just discussing how modern women uh, are not ready, don't know how to be wives, and we're discussing some of the ways that they don't know. Specifically, we're talking about how women uh, don't take, right, like just in this small portion I'm talking about here for the last like 2 minutes, don't take interest in the interest of their men. Instead, they kind of see men as like, oh, they're just boys, they're just doing boy stuff, and they don't want to partake in the things that bring joy to a man's life. You know what I mean? And that would first require a woman to be peaceful enough for a man want to be around his wife all the time. I want to be around my wife all the time. I love being around her, and she's able to take interest in the things I take interest in. And now she's like really, she loves the things that we do together, because we get to not only see each other enjoying something, you know what I mean, and she gets to enjoy me doing something I like. She's taking an enjoyment out of it too, and we get to spend time with one another. But this isn't the modus operandi of the modern woman, who is not looking to be of service. She's looking for service. What can this person do for me? It's constantly, what can you do for me? Will you take me here? Will you do this for me? Will you pamper me? Will you do XYZ? I've been talking to women from all over the world, and they ask for whether it sometimes is like, oh, you have to come here and you need a bride price. Women saying, oh, you need to come to this state and come visit me. You know what I mean? They're trying to control the relationship as the man. They're trying to dictate the pace, which is to lead, which is supposed to be the man. And if the uh, if the hierarchy is already out of whack right there in the courting stage, it isn't going to get better unless certain things are abided by in terms of what is correct by the scripture of God, as well as the authority of the man over the woman in marriage. So as we move on, the other things that another one last example of what women will um, try to um, that women will try to not be accountable or responsible for in terms of what they're doing in a relationship is they'll say something that is um like there's a lot of just snarky. Oop, we got another comment here. Okay, I have a best friend that is a boy, and we are still friends because I respect what he likes to do. I'm a girl. Okay, I'll get to what you're saying in a moment. Um, what was I saying? There's just now I remember. There is this low level of constant disrespect among women toward men today, where it's constantly you're degrading, dismissing men, making fun of men for a myriad of reasons. There's always just a low level of man hate among women, where it becomes when it becomes even more serious, like an argument or some type of more heated exchange, that hate becomes bitterness and resentment that just oozes out of the words of the mouth of the woman, where it's like all of this really patronizing passive aggressive way of talking to a man, that is obviously disrespectful and obviously not correct, and the woman would not to be want to be talked to in that way. It happens way too often. It happens way too often. I can't even think of a time where I saw a man who was in a relationship that was unhappy and then met his woman, and she wasn't like that, where she had this low level of man hate, you know, putting down the man, demoralizing him, dismissing him, treating like shit. That men are emasculated by that, and that's not happy. And a man will stick with a woman because men know how to love a woman in terms of loyalty, like a little dog puppy. I love you, but it women can be cold like cats. Um, and in this way, when you have that type of low level man hate, you can't have a cooperative marriage. It's just friction and resentment, and people like that are too common, specifically women, because for whatever reason, modern society has trained women to hate men. And these are just a few examples of what's happening commonly among women to completely disqualify them as a wife. Okay, so I wanted to get to visual testimonies. Okay, I have a best friend that is a boy, and we are still friends because I respect what he likes to do. I'm a girl. Oh, okay. No, we're talking about marriage. We're talking about specifically marriage. Um, yes, yes, and women and men can't be friends. Boys are always men who are trying to be friends with a woman are trying to be with that woman. That's it. They're just waiting their chance. Um, so what do you think, babe? Anything else that I need to cover on how to be? I guess I could cover how to be a wife, right?
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
cover in short. I'll cover in short how to be a wife in terms of the Bible, when we're talking about scripturally speaking, the Bible calls for three main things of the wife to the husband: um, submission, obedience, and respect. For the husband, it's love, authority, leadership. Um, and authority comes with responsibility, which comes with, you know, provision, protection, and emotional, financial support. So while we all know traditionally what a man wants in terms of, or rather, what is wanted by women in a man is the traditional man. He's strong, can provide, can protect, um, and loves the wife. Right? We all know this, but what a man wants is constantly overlooked and constantly neglected by not only modern society but also the church itself. Um, what the Bible says, in perhaps the most succinct uh, um, chapter of the Bible, is Proverbs 31. The Proverbs 31 woman is not only physically strong, she's humble, she knows to be quiet, and she knows when to give counsel. She's always giving counsel. She's also always looking to provide for her family, and she's industrious. She's planting vineyards, and she's um, um, the uh, her husband wants to show her off, and the wife is constantly praising the husband, and only good words coming out of her mouth from about the husband. This is literally the opposite of the things that I just spoke of as problems with the modern woman, of the low level man hate, of the contentiousness of them trying to set the pace, them trying to lead in a relationship on what is supposed to happen. Okay, this all accrues into what is just an unacceptable candidate for marriage, and that candidate is most women, and even most women in the church. And so modernity, as I've said many times on this channel before, and is clear from any cursory look, is completely inundated with feminist concepts and ideals that do nothing but destroy the marriage and the nuclear family, as is written directly by its proponents in the early writings of feminism. It's like, we have to destroy the family, otherwise women will just choose to stay home. We have to destroy the nuclear family. And that's why we have what we have today. As we move more and more toward feminism and away from the patriarchal system that's inside the Bible, we have found nothing more than social degradation, uptick in baby murders, which is abortion, and several upticks in divorce, um, and many more upticks in children being born to single parents. These are not good, and these decisions are being made on a wide scale, and it's not by fucking accident. And no one seems to see that the tools that were there in place to minimize, if not completely eradicate such problems as single parent households, deadbeat dads, large amounts of divorces, um, the lack of marriage in the first place. All these things uh, are around us in terms of the church and the Bible, being able to live in a community, but we don't live in communities. We're all little ships that are just sailing past each other in the night. We don't know anything about each other. We don't live in a community. We just live in Babylon. You know what I mean? You might live in a subdevelopment. You don't know nobody that lives there. And if you got in trouble, it wouldn't be anybody that lives there that put past judgment on you and went over anything. It would be some 8 random or 12 random people from you don't know where, that's completely uninvolved with you, that would be the people that presided over you. And so we don't live in something that is even conducive to making that marriage more likely in the first place. We live in a place that makes it more likely to cheat, more likely to be with other people, more likely to lie, more likely to be fake, more likely to leave the marriage, more likely to destroy a marriage, more likely to destroy a family, more likely to create problem children in the future that will have mental issues and possibly a high probability of all the things I listed off. We don't care. We just let it go because freedom or something like that. But freedom isn't the freedom to do what is wrong all the time with no consequences. But that's exactly what the government has put in place. It has put into place a whole system where divorce is more and more likely. It's incentivized, as I spoke of earlier, and there's instead of a safe space for a family to grow, which is under a marriage, the marriage creates a safe space. They want the government to create a safe space for a woman to leave a man and raise the children on her own in a very uh, less capable and uh, less capable and deleterious way. Okay, it's not good for the children overall. The exceptions prove the rule that they were able to get through something like that. The exceptions do not disprove the rule. The majority are the majority. And there is a high probability of illiteracy, going to jail, or rather going to prison, committing a felony, um, getting addicted, going to rehab, having an overdose, committing suicide, being, as a man, being a rapist. What in the fuck? How the fuck can we justify doing this to giving that possibility to our children? But then again, who cares, right? Because this is all things that no one wants to talk about. The modern woman, they're perfect. We're all just perfect. We're all just little perfect little angels that don't need any guidance whatsoever and anything in our life. We are just gonna things are going well.
So things are going well.
Yeah, do you have anything to add to this subject? I think that talked about it enough, right? I wanted to go on to the next subject. What are your last any final thoughts? Anything that I didn't cover that I should cover?
No, I agree. I think, you've spent enough time on this topic.
All
I
right.
do agree.
Once again, if the goal is to be a wife, then you should be looking to be submissive, obedient, and respect a man. And those things take active thoughts and actions to show respect and to listen and to obey. Those take actions. Exactly the exact same thing is being asked by God for us to respect Him, listen to Him, and obey and submit to His will. And so that we have to discuss a obvious this is what you're supposed to do as a wife is only demonstrates how far we've fallen from the biblical standard and how lost the majority of people are when it comes to the the, the relationship that is a marriage, let alone the relationship with God. Okay, so speaking of relationship with God, let's go on to our next one.
Do-do-do.
Did it do? Okay, okay, all right, yeah, give me that.
Do-do-do.
All right, so we're going to discuss the new covenant. Now, the new covenant is discussed in the Hebrews, book of Hebrews. Can you bring up Jeremiah 31:33? Oh, no, you don't have to give me that. Thank you. Thank you. Um, so the new covenant is discussed by the author of Hebrews in Hebrews 8:10, with that is chapter 8, verse 10, and Hebrews 10:16. That's chapter 10, verse 16. Um, in these two verses, it is an explicit, direct quote of Jeremiah 31:33, and it is the discussion from by God himself in Jeremiah 31:33 about his new covenant that he will make. Okay, not according to the ones of that I made with their fathers. So here we go. Jeremiah 31:33. We're going to read the Berean Standard Bible. Okay, Berean Standard Bible. Remember, this is God talking. Yah. Okay, the Lord, all capital letters. Okay, but this is the covenant I will make with the house of Israel those days, declares the Lord, all capital letters. I will put my law in their minds and inscribe it on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. This is repeated twice in the book of Hebrews. Obviously, the Hebrews will understand these Old Testament quotations significantly more, but it was expected of most believers in the first century to be reading the scriptures, the law and the prophets, as Jesus and Paul say, throughout their time. This is why they're spending their time debating with the Pharisees in the synagogues and in the temple. They do this every week, and including in Acts, after Jesus has passed, they're still celebrating the Sabbath in the synagogues and debating with people. Okay, so there is no Bible in the first century. There is only the Old Testament. Okay, that's the law and the prophets, and the believers at that time, they weren't reading the letters. Some of the letters wouldn't be written for decades. Okay, some of them were written pretty close. Okay, some of the gospels were written pretty close, but that doesn't take away that not all believers had those gospels at all times. You know what I mean? There's churches popping up everywhere. They didn't have those writings. Okay, they had the law and the prophets. Okay, and so when Jeremiah, who doesn't have the New Testament, says that God in Jeremiah, I will put my law in their minds, and inscribe it on their hearts. This is not a reference to anything but the law of God, not some other law or new law. Some people say that Jesus is making up a new law. There is no new law in the New Testament. There is one time where he says, I give you this new commandment, but the word is kainos, which is new in quality, not new in time. That would be neos. We all know neos, neo geo, like, or neo Japan, like that means new. But kainos means new in quality, so it's like refreshing, like a refurbished. So I'm refreshing this commandment: love each other as I loved you. But this is not a new commandment, because you can't refurbish a new commandment, because God already loved his people. That Jesus is God, right? So this isn't not a new commandment, unless you say that God doesn't love his people, which he repeatedly says in his word. So the new covenant, which is Jeremiah 31:33, once again, which is quoted in 8:10 of Hebrews and 10:16 of Hebrews. It is discussing a covenant that is made with Israel, and it will put his law on their minds and in their hearts. Now, somebody will say many times, well, I walk in the Spirit. Okay, hold on one second. Ezekiel 36. Where's it? 26. People will say, I walk in the Spirit. I'm on a new covenant with the Spirit. Okay. Ezekiel also discusses the new heart and the new spirit, okay, that is in the New Testament, right? Therefore, tell the house of Israel, that is what this is starting in Ezekiel 36, verse 22. Therefore, tell the house of Israel that this is what the Lord says, capital Lord. It is not for your sake that I will act, O house of Israel, but for my holy name, which you have profaned among the nations to which you went. I will show the holiness of my great name, which has been profaned among the nations, the name you have profaned among them. Then the nations will know that I am the Lord, capital Lord, declares the Lord God, when I show my holiness in you before their eyes. For I will take you from the nations and gather you out of all the countries, and I will bring you back into your own land. I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you will be clean, and I will cleanse from you all your impurities and all your idols. I will give you a new heart and a new spirit within you. I will remove your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. Verse 27. And I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes and to carefully observe my ordinances. This is discussing his spirit causing a person to walk in his statutes and ordinances. That's his law. This is Ezekiel. Once again, this is the Torah. This isn't something new. God doesn't change. What God has said is wrong is always wrong. What God said is right is always right. Nothing has changed. I did not come to abolish the law. Do not think I came to abolish the law. I did not come to abolish, but fulfill. Fulfill cannot mean abolish, Matthew 5:17, right? God is, Jesus, who's God, is setting fulfill and abolish directly opposing. So they can't mean the same thing. Yet all the time people try to attribute the meaning of fulfill to abolish. Abolish means end. Abolish means to do away with. Abolish means abrogate, which means to change it in any way. Abolish means to destroy. How can fulfill mean any of those things then? When you fulfill a contract, do you destroy the house? You got a contract to build a house. You fulfill that contract. Do you destroy the house that you just built, or you let the people live in the house that you just finished because it's now complete? Just like his kingdom is at hand, because he has completed the foundation for everybody to understand. The new covenant is God's law on our hearts. Okay? That isn't just the 10 so-called commandments. They're never called the commandments. There are 10 statements. The commandments are built off of the 10 statements. But the 10 statements do not encapsulate all the law. How do you say no incest with just the 10 commandments? How do you say no slavery with just the 10 commandments, which is made illegal in Exodus 21:16? Chattel slavery is illegal in Exodus. So any servant or a quote slave you see in the Old Testament is a servant, okay, which is either voluntary or paying back damages that they couldn't pay, so they're working it off, okay. Or lastly, prisoners of war. And this whole idea that the law is done away with, when Paul is repeatedly saying, do we do away with this law with this face? Of course, certainly not. We establish the law. People will then say, well, that doesn't mean the law. So the law doesn't mean the law to these people. Okay? Within Scripture, Galatians 3, Scripture pronounces all sin. That's where sin is. 1 John 3:4. Sin is breaking the law. In fact, sin is lawlessness, to be without the law. So when we see that the new covenant is about the law, having the Spirit is about the law, sin is about the law, repenting is about sin, so therefore it is also about the law, and Jesus says he's here to fulfill the law, not abolish it. Then, and we think, oh, the law, what is that? That's for the Jews or whatever the fuck people think. Then maybe we are fooled by misunderstood doctrines, or doctrines that are just erroneous in the first place. The new covenant is clear, and it would take somebody who complete ignorance not to understand what it means. When it says, put my law, capital M, capital L, my law onto their hearts and inscribe it on their minds, or on their minds and inscribe it on their hearts. That isn't an accident. That isn't an accident. Here you go. Skip to the left there. That isn't an accident. That's concerted, focused, purposeful design. And we can't continue in our faith and deny it. This is just one cursory glance at the new covenant, and I would, if anybody wants to take a look at these things, they can go to a whole myriad of sources, whether it be 119 Ministries here on YouTube, who discuss the new covenant, um, Messenger of the Name, Torah Family, Torah Resource, Messiah Matters, um, and a whole bunch of other people that are totally available that may open your um, understanding. I would definitely recommend them. You know, there are many people out there that can help you understand this, because some people are trying to limit your understanding. Some churches don't even want you to read your Bible. Some churches, when you read the Bible, you need somebody looking over your shoulder to make sure that you understand it's right. And some churches have just fucking rewritten the entire thing. But those subjects are for another day. And so, anything that I need to discuss more? Anything I need to leave on? Anything that's left? Nothing. Um. Anyway, I don't know what I'm looking at my face that I just made. I'm dumb. We want to thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in this week. Just a short one, just an hour long here on the first day of the biblical week, which ends at sunset. So I hope that you all have had a great day. You all are doing fine, and staying up. And we hope that y'all say, stay up, stay vigilant, stay locked and loaded. Shalom, shalom, peace in y'all love.